Today is the most important morning of my professional life. I have an interview for a job at the International Academy. My alarm clock rang at exactly 7 o'clock this morning. I stood in front of the mirror and looked at my face. My expressive brown eyes looked a bit nervous but very bright. I put on my favorite light blue blazer for good luck. My wavy brown hair was soft and very shiny today. I checked my leather folder with my CV and certificates. Everything was organized and ready for the big meeting. I practiced my self-introduction 10 times in the kitchen. Hello, my name is Alice, and I love teaching English. I drank a cup of warm tea to calm my beating heart. The sun was shining through my bedroom window very brightly. I felt like a character in a movie about a big city. I am only 20, but I have a lot of passion for education. My students at the small school gave me a lucky charm. It was a small wooden star that I put in my pocket. I left my apartment and walked to the bus station quickly. The city was busy, and many people were going to work. I looked at the tall buildings and felt very small today. But I remembered my dream of becoming a famous teacher. I took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. The bus arrived, and I found a seat near the window. I read my notes about the school's history one last time. The academy is famous for its modern methods and technology. I wanted to show them my creative ideas for English lessons. My heart was jumping every time the bus stopped. I arrived at the large glass building 15 minutes early. The lobby was very modern and had many green plants inside. A friendly receptionist asked for my name and my time. I sat on a black leather sofa and waited for the call. I saw a man in a dark suit walking through the hall. He looked very serious and very professional from a distance. I realized that was Mr. Grayson, the director of the school. I touched the wooden star in my pocket for extra courage. My hands were cold, but my mind was very clear. I was ready to show the world my teaching skills. The receptionist smiled and said, "Mr. Grayson is ready." I stood up and walked toward the large wooden door. My big interview adventure was starting at this moment. The door opened, and I entered a very large office. The walls were covered with books and many gold awards. Mr. Grayson stood up from his desk to welcome me. He was tall and had a very kind, gray-eyed gaze. "Welcome, Alice, please have a seat," he said warmly. His voice was deep and made me feel more relaxed. I sat in a comfortable chair and smiled at him. I gave him my CV and my teaching portfolio carefully. He looked at my documents with a lot of attention. The room was quiet, only the sound of paper moving. I looked at the view of the city from his big window. The sky was blue, and the world felt full of hope. Mr. Grayson looked at me and asked his first question. "Why do you want to teach at our academy, Alice?" I smiled because I knew the answer in my heart. I told him about my love for the English language. I explained that I want to help children find their voice. He listened to me and nodded his head slowly. I felt that he was a very wise and experienced leader. My Disney-style face was full of sincere and bright energy. We talked about different ways to motivate young students. I told him that games and songs are very important tools. He seemed interested in my modern approach to grammar. I felt my nervousness disappearing second by second today. The office was warm and had a very professional atmosphere. I realized that an interview is just a conversation. Two people talking about a subject they both love. Mr. Grayson asked about my experience with online classes. I told him about my interactive lessons on digital platforms. He wrote some notes in a small black notebook on his desk. I felt like I was doing a very good job so far. The wooden star in my pocket felt warm and lucky. I used my hands to explain my ideas more clearly. My light blue blazer was perfect for this serious room. I felt like a real professional woman in this office. Mr. Grayson looked at a digital screen on the wall. "Can you show me a small lesson plan?" he asked. I stood up and walked to the screen with confidence. This was my chance to demonstrate my creative talent. I was ready to be the best teacher in the world. I turned on the digital screen with a small remote. A bright chart about English tenses appeared on the wall. I used my finger to show how time works in language. I told a funny story to explain the present perfect. Mr. Grayson laughed at my example of a lost cat. Humor is a great way to make students remember rules. I felt very energetic and very happy during my talk. My brown eyes were wide and full of teaching passion. I explained how I use photos and videos in my class. The technology in the room worked perfectly for me. I showed him a short video of my previous students. They were singing an English song about the 4 seasons. Mr. Grayson smiled when he saw the children's happy faces. "You have a very good energy with kids, Alice," he said. I thanked him and felt a lot of pride in my heart. I explained that every child learns in a different way. Some like to listen, and some like to see pictures. A good teacher must be flexible and very patient. We discussed the importance of culture in language learning. I believe that learning English is like opening a new door. The presentation lasted for 15 minutes, but felt short. I sat back in my chair and took a sip of water. My throat was a bit dry, but I felt very successful. Mr. Grayson looked at me with a very thoughtful expression. "What is the biggest challenge in your work?" he asked. This was a difficult and very deep question for me. I thought about my classes for a few silent moments. I told him that some students are afraid to make mistakes. I try to create a safe space where mistakes are okay. Without mistakes, we cannot learn anything new in life. He liked my answer and wrote it in his black notebook. I felt a strong connection with his vision for the school. The academy was a perfect place for my teaching style. I was not just a girl, I was a professional specialist. The sunlight was golden on the polished oak desk. I felt very comfortable in that beautiful office now. Mr. Grayson looked at the clock on the office wall. Our time was almost over, and the interview was ending. I felt that I gave my best effort to this meeting. My future was waiting for me behind that wooden door. Mr. Grayson leaned forward and looked into my eyes. "Alice, where do you see yourself in 5 years?" I took a moment to think about my long-term dreams. I want to lead a team of creative English teachers. I want to create my own book for young language learners. I told him about my desire to grow and learn more. A teacher who stops learning is not a good teacher. He seemed to agree with my philosophy of life. "We need people with big dreams here," he said softly. I felt a big wave of excitement inside my chest. We talked about the international projects of the academy. They send teachers to different countries for training. This sounded like a dream come true for a girl like me. I asked him about the school's atmosphere and the team. He said they are like a big, diverse, and friendly family. This was exactly what I was looking for in a workplace. I realized that I was also interviewing the school today. I wanted to be sure that I would be happy there. Mr. Grayson answered all my questions with a lot of detail. He was very honest about the hard work and the stress. But he also spoke about the joy of seeing student success. My Disney-style face was very serious and very focused. I appreciated his honesty and his professional attitude. The city outside the window was full of evening light. I felt like I belonged in this professional world. My wavy hair was still perfect after the long morning. I felt very elegant and very smart in my blue blazer. Mr. Grayson closed my folder and put it on his desk. The interview was finished, and I felt a bit tired. But it was the best kind of tiredness in the world. I stood up and prepared to say my final goodbye. I didn't know the result, but I was happy with myself. I learned a lot about myself during this 1 hour. I am stronger and more capable than I thought before. I smiled at Mr. Grayson and thanked him for the opportunity. He stood up too and walked toward me with a smile. The office felt very peaceful in the late afternoon sun. I was ready for whatever the answer would be today. My heart was calm, and my spirit was very high. I walked toward the door with a very confident step. Mr. Grayson stopped me before I reached the exit. "Alice, wait a moment, I have something to say." I turned around and looked at him with curiosity. He had a very bright and very warm smile on his face. "I don't need to talk to other candidates," he said. My heart stopped for a second, and I held my breath. "You have the passion and the skills we need," he continued. He offered his hand for a firm and friendly handshake. "Welcome to the Academy, Alice, you have the job." I felt a surge of pure joy and absolute happiness. I shook his hand, and I felt very, very powerful. "Thank you, Mr. Grayson, I will not disappoint you." I wanted to jump and dance, but I stayed professional. My brown eyes were shining like stars in the room. This was the most successful moment of my young life. I felt like all my hard work was finally recognized. Mr. Grayson told me to come on Monday for the contract. I agreed and felt like I was walking on a cloud. I left the office and walked through the modern lobby. The receptionist smiled at me, and I waved back happily. I stepped outside and felt the warm sun on my face. The city didn't look scary or too big anymore today. It looked like a place of endless possibilities for me. I took my phone and called my mother immediately. "Mom, I got the job at the International Academy." I heard her happy voice and her proud laughter. I was Alice, a 20-year-old teacher with a dream job. I walked to the park and sat on a wooden bench. I took the wooden star from my pocket and kissed it. I felt very lucky and very grateful for this day. I decided to celebrate with a delicious piece of cake. I went to my favorite cafe and ordered a chocolate one. I sat by the window and watched the people outside. I felt like I was part of the heartbeat of the city. My career was starting in the best possible way. I felt ready for the challenge and the hard work. Teaching is my life, and now I have a great school. The evening sky was pink and purple above the park. I felt very peaceful and very, very satisfied. This was a day I would remember for many years. Monday morning arrived with a very bright and clear sky. I woke up even earlier than usual, full of energy. I wore a new dark blue skirt and a white silk blouse. I felt like a real teacher as I walked to the academy. Mr. Grayson met me at the entrance with a big smile. He introduced me to the other teachers in the lounge. They were all very friendly and very welcoming to me. I received my own desk and a new laptop for work. My name was already on a small sign on my desk. Alice, English Language Department, it said clearly. I felt a tear of joy in my eye when I saw it. My first class was with a group of 10-year-old kids. They were curious and looked at me with wide eyes. I started the lesson with a funny game about animals. Soon, the whole classroom was full of laughter and English. I felt like I was in the right place at the right time. Mr. Grayson watched my lesson for a few minutes. He gave me a thumbs up and smiled through the glass. I felt even more confident and very inspired by him. The time passed very quickly, and the lesson finished. The children didn't want to leave the classroom today. One little girl gave me a drawing of a happy sun. "Thank you, Teacher Alice," she said in perfect English. I felt like my heart was melting from her kindness. This is why I chose this beautiful and difficult job. I spent the afternoon planning my next creative lessons. I have many ideas for stories and interactive games. I am Alice, and I am a teacher at the Academy. My life is full of colors, words, and happy faces. I look at the city from my new office window. The world is large, but I am not afraid of it. Every interview and every challenge makes us much stronger. I am grateful for the chance to change children's lives. My brown eyes see a bright and very long future. My wavy hair is a bit messy after a day of teaching. But I have a very warm and very happy smile today. I am ready for Tuesday, Wednesday, and all the years. Life is a story, and I am writing a great chapter. Thank you for following my big professional journey. Dreams come true if you work hard and believe.
Write one English word in comments. 5 people get 10 English lessons free.